Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlene Benedict for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Thiruni Karunaratna. Here are tonight's top stories.
Pakistan Prime Minister responds to President Anwar's request, confirms participation in India-Pakistan T20 match. Sri Lanka climbs 14 places in Global Corruption Perceptions Index. We are tracing destroyed evidence in major crimes, says Minister Nalinda. Ganga Ramya Sarvagnya Relic veneration concludes tomorrow.
In your top story tonight, cricket fans around the world are turning their attention to the India-Pakistan clash of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup, scheduled to take place this Sunday at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo. Now, the dispute surrounding the hosting of the match was resolved last night following a phone conversation between President Anurakumara Dissanayake and Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif.
Pakistan and India have not participated in a bilateral cricket series since Pakistan's tour of India in 2013. During the Asia Cup in Dubai, even a handshake between the captains was avoided. A similar atmosphere was evident during last year's ICC Women's World Cup and continued through the 2026 ICC Under-19 World Cup. Cricket is India's most popular sport, representing a nation of 1.42 billion people. Its neighbor Pakistan, home to 257 million, also considers cricket its #1 sport. Bangladesh, another major South Asian nation of 174.3 million, shares the same passion. Countries that introduced cricket to the world, England and Australia, do not command the sheer fan magnitude that India, Pakistan and Bangladesh collectively represent. Whenever a Cricket World Cup is underway, these three nations form the biggest, most influential spectator base. This year's T20 World Cup risked losing all three due to political tensions spilling onto the cricket field.
India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, three cricket crazy countries. But recently there have been controversy surrounding games involving these three nations. Well, what led to this situation? Let's have a look.
Bangladesh refused to play its T20 World Cup matches scheduled in India, citing security concerns. This decision followed India's notification to its cricket board demanding the removal of Bangladeshi cricketer Mustafizur Rahman from the IPL, despite him being brought for 90 million Indian rupees. Bangladesh also requested that its World Cup matches in India be relocated to Sri Lanka. However, the ICC announced that the published tournament schedule would not be altered under any circumstances. As a result, Bangladesh withdrew from the tournament and was replaced by Scotland. Pakistan then declared it was considering withdrawing from the T20 World Cup entirely. Later, Pakistan stated that it would participate in the tournament but would boycott the match against India scheduled for the 15th in Colombo, a decision that threatened to deflate global enthusiasm for this year's World Cup.
Now, with the ICC T20 Cricket World Cup 2026 underway and Sri Lanka co-hosting the tournament, all attention from cricket fans are on the headline making game, that is the game between India and Pakistan. Now, interestingly, Sri Lankan President Anurakumara Dissanayake had a 30-minute long phone conversation with the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Now, will this game go ahead or not? Well, let's get into details of this phone conversation that was held between the President of Sri Lanka and the Prime Minister of Pakistan.
Against this backdrop, President Anurakumara Dissanayake held a 30-minute discussion over the phone yesterday with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, requesting Pakistan to reconsider its stance and participate in the match against India. The two leaders also discussed the long-standing friendship between Sri Lanka and Pakistan and the strong cricketing ties shared over the years. They recalled the 1996 Cricket World Cup, during which Pakistan toured and played in Sri Lanka despite security concerns that deterred other teams. They also acknowledged Sri Lanka's decision to stay in Pakistan during the recent terror attack there, opting not to abandon the tour. Following the discussion, Pakistan announced via a statement published on X that after considering President Dissanayaka's request, Pakistan decided to participate in the match against India in Colombo. President Dissanayaka expressed his appreciation in a message on X, stating he was pleased the iconic India-Pakistan fixture would proceed as planned, preserving the spirit of cricket beloved by millions. He also thanked the ICC and all supporting parties for their cooperation as Sri Lanka hosts the tournament. He noted that Sri Lanka has not forgotten the solidarity shown by India and Pakistan in 1996 when they came to Colombo despite security concerns.
At the same time, Pakistan's envoy to Sri Lanka in a farewell visit to the Foreign Ministry also commented on the matter. Now let's get into details of this.
Pakistan further stated that it reversed its earlier decision after Sri Lanka's request, praising Sri Lanka's mediation in resolving the matter. Pakistan's High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, retired Major General Fahim ul Aziz, disclosed this during a farewell meeting with Foreign Minister Vijitha Herat this morning. Minister Herat thanked the High Commissioner for his swift involvement and coordination in 3 days of diplomatic discussions and telephone negotiations that led to the breakthrough.
Amidst all this chaos that was happening, what was India's position in all this? Well, let's take a look at that now.
India's stance throughout the dispute was that its team would arrive at the venue on the day of the match and participate as planned. Indian officials affirmed that they would remain committed to the process until the final moment necessary for the smooth conduct of the fixture. With Pakistan's final decision in place, the highly anticipated India-Pakistan match will indeed take place this Sunday at the R. Premadasa Stadium.
Yesterday, the International Cricket Council, also known as the ICC, hosted meetings with both the Pakistan Cricket Board and the Bangladesh Cricket Board. Now, during this meeting, there were some important matters or updates that were announced related to the recent events. What were these matters? Well, let's also take a look at that now.
Meanwhile, the International Cricket Council confirmed that productive discussions were held with officials of the Pakistan and Bangladesh cricket boards. The ICC said in a statement that the talks covered the 2026 T20 World Cup and the future of cricket in South Asia. The ICC also clarified that no action would be taken against Bangladesh for its decision not to participate in this year's T20 World Cup. Cricket came into focus during today's media briefing on cabinet decisions.
For our country's cricket fans and spectators, and for everyone eagerly waiting to watch this match, this is an important update. Due to various regional issues, there was a situation where the India-Pakistan match could have been cancelled. Over the past several days, the government intervened in multiple ways. As a result, we now have the opportunity to host this match. Several parties, including the ICC and our own cricket board, as well as multiple mediators, were involved. Our president also held a special phone discussion with the Prime Minister of Pakistan. The Pakistan government has officially communicated their satisfaction regarding our intervention and the opportunity to proceed with the match. As a country, we are genuinely pleased that this match between the two nations can take place here in Sri Lanka, and that cricket can help strengthen cooperation and friendship among the countries in our region. If we as a government receive an opportunity to support regional harmony through cricket, we will fulfill that role without hesitation. I believe this outcome is one such result. All teams have been assured that security arrangements are fully handled by us. Maximum security will be provided. We expect our people who love cricket to extend their fullest cooperation to our security forces. These steps are not just important for cricket in our country, but for international relations, global diplomacy, international cooperation, and mutual trust. The police have already prepared a special traffic plan considering the large crowd expected for the match.
Sri Lanka has recorded a notable improvement in its global standing on the Corruption Perceptions Index or CPI 2025 by Transparency International, marking one of the country's most significant jumps in recent years.
According to the latest Corruption Perceptions Index release, Sri Lanka has risen from rank 121 in 2024 to rank 107 in 2025, reflecting a 14-position climb. The Corruption Perceptions Index is the most widely used global corruption ranking in the world. It measures how corrupt each country's public sector is perceived to be. In 2024, Sri Lanka hit its worst ever CPI rank of 121, placing it among the most corrupt third of the 180 countries reviewed. The CPI ranks 182 countries and territories by their perceived levels of public sector corruption on a scale of 0 to 100. The global average score stands at 42 out of 100, its lowest level in more than a decade, pointing to a concerning downward trend that will need to be monitored over time. The vast majority of countries are failing to keep corruption under control. More than two-thirds, 122 of 180, score under 50. For the 8th year in a row, Denmark obtains the highest score on the index and is closely followed by Finland and Singapore. Countries with the lowest scores overwhelmingly have severely repressed civil societies and high-level instability like South Sudan, Somalia and Venezuela. Transparency International says that corruption is worsening globally, with even established democracies experiencing rising corruption amid a decline in leadership.
Investigations are underway into a number of serious offences, including major financial crimes and attempts to destroy evidence. This was revealed by Cabinet Media spokesperson Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa at the weekly Cabinet Decisions media briefing.
මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ උගන්ඩාවේ ඩොලර් බිලියන 18ක් තැන්පත් කරලා තියෙනවා ඒවා ගේනවා කියලා සඳහන් කළා. දෙවෙනි එක තමයි පටලන්ත කොමිෂන් සභා වාර්තාව පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ඉදිරිපත් කළා. ඇත්තටම තුවා මේ වය සම්බන්ධයෙන් සිදුවෙන විමර්ශන කොහොමද? ඔය දෙක පමණක් නෙවෙයි තවත් විමර්ශන ගණනාවක් සිදු වෙනවා.
Not just those two cases, there are many ongoing investigations. Relevant individuals are being summoned to the CID, FCID and the Bribery Commission for further evidence gathering. Some investigations have already concluded and cases have been filed. Indictments are being prepared and court dates have been set. A massive legal process is underway. We inherited a state riddled with crimes. Numerous such incidents had taken place within that state structure. Therefore, we shouldn't limit ourselves to Uganda alone. Investigations are ongoing regarding funds believed to be in Dubai and other countries as well. I haven't seen anyone questioning Namal Rajapaksa about money reportedly held in Dubai, have you? So these investigations are happening. Let's see what emerges as more details come out. Politicians connected to individuals like Kehel Padme are now reporting to the Criminal Investigation Department. Those matters too will proceed through investigations. Some evidence has already been destroyed. Some witnesses have been silenced. Certain officers involved in evidence handling have been transferred or even placed in situations where they cannot remain in Sri Lanka. If evidence has been destroyed, our investigators will attempt to reconstruct the trail using alternative methods. That process is already underway, but that does not mean any officer is helping to cover up a crime. They are gathering every piece of evidence necessary to file proper legal action.
The Colombo Magistrates Court today granted bail to businessman Nimal Sisirakumara and Bandara Rambukwella, a relative of former Minister Keheli Rambukwella. The duo were arrested on suspicion of aiding and abetting the laundering of 740 million rupees allegedly amassed illegally by former Minister Keheli Rambukwella. The case was called today before Colombo Chief Magistrate Asanga S. Bodragama. The suspect Nimal Sisirakumara provided a confidential statement to the magistrate for approximately 1 hour. After considering the facts, the Chief Magistrate ordered the release of the two suspects on 2 personal bails of 5 million rupees each. Additionally, a foreign travel ban was imposed on both suspects. The suspects were taken into custody by the Bribery Commission on charges of aiding and abetting the laundering of illegal assets amassed by former Minister Keheli Rambukwella. Former Minister Anrupriyadarshana was summoned to the Illegal Assets Investigation Division today. He was called in to provide a statement on how he acquired his assets. The former minister arrived at around 9:30 a.m. and left the premises at about 2:30 p.m. after providing his statement.
The Perseen or Mardal Fishermen's Association stated that they would end their protest if authorities can prove that the use of tractors and winches in Perseen operations is harmful to the environment. They made this announcement as their satyagraha in front of the Presidential Secretariat entered its 6th day.
Fishermen from several regions launched a satyagraha on the 5th of February, demanding that the ban on using tractors and winches in Perseen fishing be lifted. Opposition leader Sajid Premadas and several opposition politicians visited the protest site from time to time, but the fishermen told them yesterday that the matter had become politicized due to the opposition's involvement. By this morning, the fishermen had presented a condition under which they were willing to end the satyagraha.
Damaging turtle nesting grounds or destroying fish breeding grounds, then show us the evidence. We will leave this place today. But prove the truth. Bring Mahinda Amaravira and Dilip Vedarachi, the ones who issued these licenses. Their decisions created this problem. The Deputy Minister himself now says mistakes have been made.
The fishermen also said they were prepared to withdraw the case they filed in the Court of Appeal.
I am withdrawing the case because you are not like the others. You think about the ordinary man. You help even the person living in a mud house. That is your heart. You understand the suffering of poor fishermen. That is why we trust you.
What is the root of this issue? Sri Lanka has 935 Perseen sites. Of these, 607 operate traditionally using manual labor. About 328 Perseen sites use tractors and winches. Under fisheries regulations, Perseen fishing is defined as a traditional method in which two groups pull the net shoreward step by step. However, on the 26th of February 2018, the All Ceylon Perseen Owners Cooperative Society requested permission from then Minister of Fisheries Mahinda Amaravira and State Minister Dilip Vedarachi to use winch machinery. In response, Mahinda Amaravira ordered that 183 operators be granted temporary permission. Dilip Vedarachi, responding to the same letter, directed that all 183 be permitted, not temporarily but fully, despite the method being illegal. However, as early as 4th of August 2014, NARA, the National Aquatic Resource Research and Development Agency, had issued an interim report warning that Perseen operations using tractors and winches could result in severe and long-term environmental damage. NARA concluded that Perseen fishing using machinery should not be conducted in any district, citing both environmental destruction and threats to the livelihoods of thousands of fishermen.
Perseen is a traditional fishing method, and that is why it received some level of legal recognition in the past. But once engines such as tractors with winches were introduced, its traditional nature was lost. We cannot consider it a traditional method anymore. When the net is pulled using machinery, it drags across the seabed, uprooting seagrass, coral and everything else. The catch is essentially obtained through environmental destruction.
This does not affect those engaged in traditional Perseen fishing. The fishermen who operate Perseen nets in the traditional manner have no problem and can continue their work as usual. The issue arises only with those demanding permission to use tractors and winches. That is what they are pushing for. There is a court case already filed regarding this matter, with the hearing scheduled for the 26th of February. I believe the court will deliver its decision after considering the sustainability of this industry, along with the scientific findings from institutions such as NARA. Accordingly, we expect to act based on that decision. As for the groups protesting or engaging in a hunger strike today, there is no obstacle for them to continue their Perseen operations as a traditional industry.
A heated public backlash has emerged as Gamuru Wijeratne, chairman of the Lanka Private Bus Owners Association, expressed opposition to ongoing investigations into whether private bus crews are using illicit drugs. Gamanu Wijeratna's remarks drew widespread reactions from the public today.
These comments came out of nowhere. Private bus owners have stayed silent for a long time, but we know very well that there are drivers and conductors addicted to drugs. The timekeepers on each route know exactly who these people are. The industry is already struggling. The minister must understand that if he continues to threaten bus owners like this, he will push them to the wall. If we stage a 2 or 3 day strike, let's see what happens to the government. So we ask the minister, do not provoke bus owners unnecessarily.
ගැමුණු මහත්තයලා ගෙවල් වලින් ගැමුණු මහත්තයලා නැනේ පාරිතත්වේ ගැමුණු මහත්තයා අවද සල්ලි ගෙනිච්චාම ගැමුණු මහත්තයා බාර ගන්නවා මම කියන්නේ හරි සන්තෝෂයි මේ වැඩේ රීදුරු මහත්තරු අයිස් කුඩු ගහලා බස් එලවනවා නම් ඒවට විරුද්ධ වෙන්න අනිවාර්යෙන් විරුද්ධ වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒතරම හොඳ වැඩක් හොඳ වැඩසටහනක් ඒක. සල්ලි විතරයි ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඕනේ. අපේ රස්සාව අපි රැක ගන්න ඕනේ. අපි ඩ්‍රයිවිං කරලා ඉවරලා මගේ යන්න මගියව මරන්න බෑනේ අපිට. එයාගේ මේ පොමින් කැන්සල් වෙනකොට මේ විරුද්ධව එයා ඒක කතා කරන්නේ අපිට අදාළ නැහැ ඒවා. කුඩු වරව මේවා ගහලා යන කට්ටිය අතරංගුඩ ගන්න එක හොඳ වැඩක් ඒක. ඒගොල්ලෝ කට්ටිය එයාගේ වාහන වල දුවන කට්ටියත් එහෙම දන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක නිසා වෙන්නේ. එයාගේ මහගොඩ බස් නැහැනේ. බස් දාන්න ඕන තරම් මිනිස්සු ඉන්නවා ඉතින් පාට. මේ බස් ගැමුණු හදන්නේ දේශපාලන පක්ෂයකට යට වෙලා ඒ පක්ෂයේ තියෙන උවමනාවන් ඉටු කරගෙන මේ දරු පරපුර මේ අනාගත පරපුර නැති කරන්න. ඒකට අපි විරුද්ධයි. පොදු ජනයා කවදාවත් රැවටෙන්න එපා මේ කට්ටිය. පොදු ජනයාට ආදරේ නැහැ. ඒක ඇත්තම කියනවා බස් ගැමුණුගේ මහපියාවක් මේක. ගැමුණු මහත්තයෝ මම ඔයාලට කියන්නේ මේ දේ කරන්න එපා. මේ දේ හොඳ වැඩක්. මේ තුල විනයානුකූල රියදුරන් සහ මගින් පිරිසක් අපේ රටේ ඇති වෙනවා.
ස්ට්‍රයික් කරන්න කියන්නේ ඉතින්. ඒක වඩා හොඳයි. එතකොට උන් සම්පූර්ණ අයින් වෙලා හොඳයි ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ මනුස්සයට මොලේ හොඳ නැහැ. දේශපාලනේ බලාගෙන බස් ගැමුණුලා ඉන්න. හරි හොඳ වැඩක් කරනකොට ඒක අකුල් ගන්න තමයි ඒවා බලන්න.
The Minister of Transport gave a clear warning recently.
The first responsibility for stopping drug use among bus drivers lies with the bus owner. The owner definitely knows whether their driver or conductor is using drugs. We are telling bus owners very clearly, do not allow this under any circumstances. Your route permit can be cancelled.
Samagi Jana Balabek's Teldenia seat organizer Mahesh Senanayake expressed his views today at the party's media briefing regarding Sri Lanka receiving the opportunity to host the India-Pakistan T20 match.
It's good that Pakistan is coming to Sri Lanka to play India, but they're using this to claim it happened only because the president asked. If he's such a great diplomat, why doesn't he mediate between Ukraine and Russia? Why not resolve the Gaza crisis? Why not call Donald Trump and stop a war with Iran? If he has such international influence, then let him show it.
Senanayake also responded to a question regarding a statement made by his own party leader.
මට කියන්න තියෙන අපේ නායකතුමාත් හැම වෙලේම අපිට කියන බොරු කියන්න එපා කියලා. මොකද නායකතුමා හැම වෙලේම පෙන්නන්නේ බොරු කියලා ඒක අය පත් වුණාම රෙදි ගැලවෙනවා කියලා.
හැබැයි ඔබතුමාලගේ නායකයන් බොරු කියනවා නේද?
මොකද්ද කියේ බොරු කියන්නේ?
අර සමහර නිලධාරීන්ට ලේබලින් අස්සම් කරලා දෙන්නම් කියලා කිව්වා.
කොහෙද කවුද කියලා තිබ්බේ?
ඒ අතර ප්‍රකාශයක් කරන්නේ සමහර නිලධාරීන්ට එතුමා පත් වුණාම ජොබ් එක දෙනවා කියලා ලේබලින් අස්සම් කරලා දෙන්නම්.
නෑ නෑ නෑ. එතුමා ඔබ කියන්නේ මේ ඊයේ පෙරේද වෙච්ච සිදුවීමද? එතුමා එතින්දි පැහැදිලිවම කියන්නේ ඒ සංවර්ධන නිලධාරීන්ට අසාධාරණයක් වෙනවා නම් ඒ වෙනුවෙන් පෙනී ඉන්නවා කියලා. right?
ඒ සාකච්ඡාව අසාර්ථක වුණොත් සර්ගේ රජයක් යටතේ අපිට අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම සාධාරණ ඉටු කරන්න සර් සූදානම්.
අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මේක ඉෂ්ට කරනවා. ඒක අපි ලේන් අස්සම් කරලා කියනවා. What has really happened to the opposition? Here is the analysis by NPP MP Dr. Nishantha Samaraweera.
දැන් සංවර්ධන නිලධාරීන් යම් ප්‍රමාණයක් පාසල්වල වැඩ කරමින් සිටියා. ඔවුන්ගේ අවශ්‍යතාවයක් තිබුණා ගුරුවරුන් විදිහටපත් වෙන්න.
Some development officers were already working in schools and they had a genuine need to be appointed as teachers. As we said earlier, we proposed a proper method to absorb them. However, instead of following a lawful process, attempts were made to create a social struggle using legal frameworks. When it comes to the fishermen's protests, we have consistently encouraged lawful action. In any country, the law must be upheld. upheld, but instead illegal methods are being used, and the opposition is standing in support of that. On drug use, especially among drivers, we have clearly stated that a significant number of road accidents in this country are caused by narcotics. Lives are being lost. We are working to prevent this. Yet today, there are voices opposing those efforts. Regarding the so-called Buddha statue issue, this is not truly about a religious matter. It is actually a land dispute involving unlawful entry onto property. On the Easter Sunday attacks, we have been demanding justice continuously and pushing for investigations to be concluded. But now, even inside Parliament, opposition MPs are trying to interfere and stop these inquiries. In reality, the government and the opposition are now clearly divided by a line. We stand for a law-abiding public, a law-abiding society, and a law-abiding state. The opposition has chosen to stand on the other side.
It is not worth wasting too much time talking about a leader who claims he never lies. This is the same leader who once declared he would never form alliances with thieves. But now, even his own supporters can clearly see who he is standing with today.
The exposition of the sacred Sarvagni relics held at the Gangarame temple in Colombo will conclude tomorrow morning. Chief Incumbent Venerable Dr. Kirinde Asajithera requested devotees not to join the queues after 10 p.m. today.
The sacred Sarvagni relics discovered at the Devni Mori archaeological site in Gujarat, India, were recently brought to the Gangarame temple. This marks the first time these sacred relics have been taken outside of India.
I would like to kindly remind the Buddhist devotees of Sri Lanka to refrain from joining the queues after 10 p.m. tonight. This is because we do not have the opportunity to extend the exposition of the relics for another day or two. I also want to note that the media institutions have been constantly and tirelessly engaged in the process of keeping the public informed. As a result, the public has had the opportunity to act with great awareness regarding this event. Therefore, I offer my gratitude to all media organizations.
Today marks the 38th day of the second phase of the LOLC Divisavya Obai Mamai Aperatai Social Responsibility Program. Now this initiative, which aims to reconstruct 200 schools damaged by disasters, was held today across the Nuwara Eliya, Kandy, Ratnapura and Badulla districts.
The newly reconstructed facilities at Saumyamurthy Thondaman Vidyalaya, Diagama Sinhala Vidyalaya and Glenleon Tamil Vidyalaya in Nuwara Eliya, which were affected by disasters, were handed over to the students this morning. The renovated buildings at Ududumbara Secondary School and Valala A. Ratnayaka Central College in Kandy were vested in the students as follows. The modernized facilities at Rasagala Vidyalaya and Ananda Maitreya Central College in Balangude Ratnapura were also handed over to the students today. Furthermore, the reconstructed facilities at Rilpala Madagama Mahavidyalaya and Kandegedera Primary School in Badulla were officially handed over to the student community.
The Westminster Foundation for Democracy formally marked the transition of the Coalition for Inclusive Impact into an independent entity during a high-profile reception held in Colombo. The event also served as the official launch of the Inclusive Political Leadership Academy 2026.
Speaking at the event, Deputy British High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Theresa O'Mahony, emphasized about strengthening bilateral relationships as well as the support that the UK can offer to the government of Sri Lanka in developing careers of Sri Lankan parliamentarians.
We have a new government. We have a new government that's not as tested in politics as some of the other previous governments. We want to support and create an environment in which new MPs can be given mentoring and develop soft skills and attend workshops that will support them in developing their careers. And it builds leadership pipelines for long-term democratic resilience. So Westminster Foundation for Democracy and the UK and Sri Lankan government have been working together for a very long time, and we hope that it will continue into the future. So we know that Sri Lanka has an effective parliament. We know that there are some incredibly skillful MPs that operate within that parliament, and we are very keen to continue our support and to offer that peer-to-peer conversation in the coming years.
An expert panel discussion on managing uncertainty through adaptive and purposeful programming also got underway.
Do you feel that this is a moment for everyone in Sri Lanka to reflect on constitutional reforms? And is it time for a new constitution or not?
Okay, on the question of do we need a new constitution? My answer has been and will always be unequivocally yes. We need to be able to tell the vast majority of people in this country that since the social contract is in tatters, you need one solid overarching law that encompasses the diversity and the pluralism of the peoples of this country, and that is a constitution. We've been going on about abolition of the executive presidency ever since it was promulgated in 1978 or whatever. It's time that we showed the people how the Constitution actually affects their daily lives. We have to break it down for them, and we have to get it to them, that argument to them, in an easily accessible language, rather than an esoteric lingo that even the politicians who, the vast majority of them in Parliament are lawyers, do not understand. Quite frankly, they do not understand it. I mean, there is the argument that, look, an ordinary peasant cannot understand what a constitution is and will not be able to contribute to it. Everyone has a stake in what the constitution of this country is, and that's why the executive presidency has to go. The executive president has so much of powers in his or her hands that when we talk about corruption, the secretaries to ministries are put there by the president. And they are the financial officers for their ministries. You know, it's an absolute disgrace. So we definitely do need a constitution as a living, breathing, understand and accept as being fundamental to the future of this country. You should not be able to go to a government institution and be told X, Y, and Z in a language that you have no idea what the heck they're talking about. Neither should you be caught in a traffic incident or anything like that and have to make a statement or sign a statement in a language that you do not understand. So where institutions do not humiliate people and where people do not humiliate each other. And I don't think I need to elaborate on that because we have some of the worst examples. So if we choose those two ideas as a sort of guiding stars, if you like, for a new constitution, I think we will be well on the way to a much better, more prosperous, peaceful and harmonious Sri Lanka.
Diplomats, members representing civil society, policymakers and other key stakeholders were in attendance.
Academic activities at the Batiklo Murukotangchene Ramakrishna Mission Vidyalaya began today after a hiatus of over 35 years, during which it was under the control of the military.
The Batiklo Murukotangchene Ramakrishna Mission Vidyalaya had been under the control of security forces for approximately 35 years since 1990. The school was vacated on the 30th September last year and handed over to the school community on the 6th October 2025. Following this handover, academic activities officially commenced today. The inaugural event was attended by the Governor of the Eastern Province, Professor Jayantalal Ratnasekara, along with the principal, teachers, students and parents.
Indian peacekeeping forces.
For 35 years, this was held first by the IPKF and then by the military. However, after the National People's Power government took office, this school was returned to the students within a year. Look at our children's bags. See how much they struggle to bring them to school. A 2 or 3 kilogram book bag is a huge burden, isn't it? Shouldn't we reduce that? Children should want to come to school. They should be telling their parents, I really want to go to school today. For that to happen, the education system must must be made easier. This is why these reforms have been introduced.
ஸ்கூல்ல டீச்சிங் லேர்னிங் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் ஆயிருக்கு வேணும் அதிசயருக்கு தான் இந்த ரிஃபார்ம்ஸ் வருவா ராணுவ முகாமாக இயங்கிய
The primary highlight is that primary level students are stepping into the school today, which previously functioned as an army camp. These grade 1 students are the lucky ones who are the first to step into the new grade 1 educational reforms here.
இந்த தரம் ஒன்று மாணவர்கள் இங்கே நுழைந்திருக்கின்றார்கள்.
இதில் இருக்கிற எல்லா பேரண்ட்ஸும் வந்து பழைய மாணவர்கள் இப்போ வந்து அவங்களோட பிள்ளைகள் வந்து இங்கே இப்போ வந்து முதலாம் ஆண்டுக்கு படிக்க வந்ததுக்கு எல்லாருக்கும் நல்ல சந்தோஷம். இதை வந்து அரசாங்கத்துக்கு நாங்கள் நன்றியை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறோம். இந்த பள்ளியை திருப்பங்களுக்கு ஸ்கூலை மீட்டு தந்ததுக்கு.
இப்பாடசாலையிலே நான் தரம் 1 தரம் 10 வரைக்கும், அதாவது 1980ஆம் ஆண்டிலிருந்து 90ஆம் ஆண்டு வரைக்கும் இந்த பாடசாலையிலே கல்வி கற்றேன். அது மிக மிக மகிழ்ச்சி, சந்தோஷம், சொல்ல முடியாத அளவு மகிழ்ச்சி இந்த ஊரே கொண்டாடி கொண்டிருக்கிறது. இதை நினைக்கும் போது மிகவும் சந்தோஷமா இருக்க. மீளவும் விடுவித்து தந்த தேசிய மக்கள் சக்தி அரசாங்கத்துக்கும் மனமார்ந்த நன்றியை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன்.
Artificial intelligence is transforming journalism worldwide. But experts warn it is also being increasingly weaponized against women in public life. A focused discussion organized by South Asian Women in Media, Sri Lanka, brought together journalists, researchers, civil society representatives and diplomats in Colombo.
Organized by South Asian Women in Media, Sri Lanka, the forum featured new research by digital rights expert Dr. Sanjana Hattatwa titled Both a Tool and a Weapon, AI's Impact on Journalism and TFGBV. The research highlighted how generative AI is reshaping journalistic work while enabling technology-facilitated gender-based violence, particularly targeting women journalists and women in public life. The discussion concluded with calls for practical recommendations to protect journalists, especially women, and to ensure that artificial intelligence strengthens rather than undermines journalism in an era of rapidly advancing technology.
Sri Lanka's premier professional management body, the Institute of Chartered Professional Managers or CPM, held its annual convocation in Colombo today.
The Institute of Chartered Professional Managers, Sri Lanka's leading professional management body, held its annual convocation in Colombo today. Professor Lakshman R. Watawala, founder and president of CPM Sri Lanka, was the chief guest at the event. During the ceremony, students were awarded certificates marking their successful completion of professional management programs.
King Charles has made his first intervention in the latest round of revelations in the Epstein scandal, saying Buckingham Palace is ready to support the police as they consider allegations against his brother, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
A palace spokesperson said, quote, "The king has made clear in words and through unprecedented actions his profound concern at allegations which continue to come to light in respect of Mountbatten Windsor's conduct." Thames Valley Police confirmed it is assessing whether there are grounds to investigate a complaint by the anti-monarchy group Republic, which reported Mountbatten Windsor for suspected misconduct in public office and breach of official secrets. Emails from the recently released batch of Epstein files appear to show the former prince passing on reports of visits to Singapore, Hong Kong and Vietnam and confidential details of investment opportunities. After the trips on 30th November 2010, he appears to have forwarded official reports of those visits sent by his then special advisor Amit Patil to Epstein 5 minutes after receiving them. There were also details of investment opportunities in Afghanistan described as confidential, which appear to have been passed on to Epstein on the 24th December 2010. Under official guidance, trade envoys have a duty of confidentiality over sensitive, commercial or political information about their official visits. The Buckingham Palace statement says that the King and Queen's thoughts and sympathies have been and remain with the victims of any and all forms of abuse. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer refused to heed calls to quit even by the leader of his party in Scotland, pledging to fight on after his appointment of Peter Mandelson as US ambassador plunged his government into crisis. Under pressure over the appointment of a man whose close ties to late US sex-offender Jeffrey Epstein have come into full focus, Starmer has attempted to change the narrative. But a demand from Anas Sarwar, leader of the Scottish Labour Party, for him to quit and the departure of a second senior aide in as many days did little to stop the questions over his judgment and ability to govern. The resignation of Communications Chief Tim Allen followed the exit of Starmer's closest aide, Morgan McSweeney, who said he took responsibility for advising on the appointment of Mandelson to Britain's top diplomat role in the United States. Despite Sarwar's intentions, Starmer later received a message of support from his top ministers and some potential leadership rivals, and a positive reception at a meeting of Labour Party lawmakers suggested there would be no imminent move to oust him.
Meanwhile, Armenia and the United States agreed to cooperate in the civil nuclear sector as Washington sought to bolster ties with the former close ally of Russia, months after Washington brokered a peace agreement in the South Caucasus.
A statement on the nuclear sector deal was signed by the Armenian Prime Minister and US Vice President J.D. Vance, who is on a two-day visit to the country. The two said they had completed negotiations on what is known as a 123 agreement, which allows the US to legally license nuclear technology and equipment to other countries. The agreement will allow up to $5 billion in initial US exports to Armenia, plus an additional $4 billion in longer-term fuel and maintenance contracts. In a joint press conference with Vance, the Armenian Prime Minister said, quote, "This agreement will open a new chapter in the deepening energy partnership between Armenia and the United States." Unquote. Long heavily dependent on Russia and Iran for its energy supplies, Armenia is now reviewing proposals from US, Russian, Chinese, French and South Korean companies to construct a new nuclear reactor to replace its sole, aging Russian-built nuclear power plant, midsummer. No choice has yet been made, but Monday's announcement paves the way for an American project to be selected. That would deal a blow to Russia, which traditionally has viewed the South Caucasus as its sphere of influence, but whose clout there has diminished as a result of its invasion of Ukraine.
The United States has issued new guidelines to US-flagged ships traveling through the Strait of Hormuz, calling on them to stay away from Iran's territorial waters amid tensions between Washington and Tehran.
The advisory released by the US Maritime Administration on Monday also urged the captains of the ships against granting Iranian forces permission to board US vessels. The guidelines read, quote, "If Iranian forces board a US-flagged commercial vessel, the crew should not forcibly resist the boarding party. Refraining from forcible resistance does not imply consent or agreement to that boarding." It added, quote, "It is recommended that US-flagged commercial vessels transiting these waters remain as far as possible from Iran's territorial sea without compromising navigational safety. When transiting eastbound in the Strait of Hormuz, it is recommended that vessels transit close to Oman's territorial sea." Unquote. The recommendations come after the US and Iran held a round of indirect talks in Oman on Friday, following weeks of escalating rhetoric and threats that brought the two countries to the verge of war.
And that's wrap up Primetime News on TV1 for tonight.
Thank you for joining us. Good night.